whenever I implemented some of these principles into my own life, it affected me physically, spiritually, mentally, my home, my goals, all those things. Maybe you've heard me say before that my brain is kind of always on go. I'm thinking of 15 different things. I feel like a computer with all these tabs open. Even sitting here right now, those things are happening in my brain. I've learned to cope with it, if you will. And what I've decided to do is sort of use it to my advantage. So, one way that productivity was being hindered in my life is because of the way that my brain works. I was really having to have the right atmosphere, the right moment, and if anything distracted me whatsoever, I couldn't finish. I could not sit there and do what I needed to do. Well, guess what? Life is full of distractions. Life is full of things just popping up. We have our phones around us. All this, everything is just constantly moving in this world. So we have to make a conscious effort on how we can be most productive in our life. And for me, it really came to what were my most productive hours of the day. And so when I was younger, I was not a morning person at all. Absolutely hated getting up in the morning. I didn't talk to anybody. When my kids were little, I would make them breakfast, and it took me, an hour to really get going in the mornings. Mark and I didn't talk a lot in the mornings. Things like that. I would hit my snooze button 10 times. But what I did figure out was that I was really productive at night. So when we were newlyweds, I was vacuuming at 2 o'clock in the morning and moving furniture at midnight, even when my girls were little. I sat down and had a conversation one day with a friend of mine who was a super morning person, and she got all this stuff done, but then at night she just crashed. And so I talked to her about that, and she said, as your girls get older, the seasons of your life change. You're going to find that your productive hours will begin to change. Well, that's exactly what's happened in my life. In recent years, I get the most done, and I can think the clearest. I can plan the best and execute those plans the best in the very early morning hours. With our life change of being church planters now, we all work out of the house. I homeschool my daughter, so everybody's always here, moving, going around, and so because of that, again, it was distracting me from that time. So I asked the Lord what to do and began to look for some resources on what was the best thing to do. So this non-morning person suddenly begins to get up between 5:30 and 6 every morning. That gives me about 2.5 hours to completely be alone, spend time drinking my coffee, because we all know that's the fuel for your life, spend time with the Lord, and then spend time doing some things like writing the books and the blogs and things that I'm preparing to launch, and even planning for the future, and doing some things that I've put off for a really long time because I didn't feel like I had the space to get it done. It has completely revolutionized me as a person. I suddenly feel a little bit more control of myself. So as far as productivity goes, I am pumping out more product, if you will, my life's product. I'm pumping that out faster and more efficiently than I ever have before. So let me go quickly through what I do in the mornings. I get up earlier than everybody else. I don't get dressed. I do not plan meetings in the morning during those hours or something that would cause me to have to stop and get dressed to go to those meetings. I have my coffee. I have my dogs are still sleeping. My kids are still sleeping. I have my to-do list made out. I spend my time doing my devotions, and I immediately go into whatever flow comes for me creatively, which for me right now is a lot of writing. And I begin to do that, and I give myself time slots to do that. And I want to encourage you to do the same thing. Suddenly, it's like the sun came out in my life, and I want you to know that the same thing can happen for you. It may not happen in the morning, maybe it's the afternoon, maybe it's the evening. Whatever it is, you can be the most productive that you've ever been in your life if you begin to pay attention to these things. Let me tell you really quickly also a quick resource that I would highly encourage. I always like to kind of spotlight other ministries. Havilah Cunnington has an amazing podcast. You can find it on iTunes. and just Google it. She actually did a podcast recently called Tiger Hours, which really sort of expands even more of what I'm talking about. And she sort of has the same story as I do. It's a great resource. Go listen to that and then decide what your most productive time can be so you can get these things done. I can't wait to hear how much you're producing in your life. See you next time.